All right.
Welcome in, guys. Happy Thursday. This is the Walker Report. We are part of NGSC Sports, guys. Remember the website. It's ngscsports.com for all your current sports content. We are sponsored by biotropiclabs.com. Head over there, use promo code TWR at checkout for 15% off a one-time purchase. Use TWR and the letter S for 20% off subscription purchase, including one additional free supplement. Head again over to biotropiclabs.com. All right, guys, welcome in. If my voice sounds funny, guys, I'm a little bit under the weather, but I am here. It will be the OG crew tonight. Alec is at a concert, and I don't know if Gerald is aware to come on or not, but yeah. But anyway, yeah, I got my laptop back, so no more tablet and no more the screen falling over or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's always good. I was gonna bring something up. So I was posting on In the Zones Facebook page. I went on there today.
Mhm.
I've been blocked. So I contacted
Really?
Kevin. And said, "Hey, sorry." He's like, "No, it's okay." He goes, "I can't have you putting your brand of stuff on our page." I said, "Okay, no problem." I don't know
Mm.
who was approving everything. Obviously, it wasn't you, but one of your admins approved a bunch of stuff. So
Yeah.
no big deal, no love lost. I don't hold any hostility against anybody over there. So I'm cool. I'm cool. So
Okay.
I'm cool. I'm cool. He's gonna, we talked via text and all that stuff. So it is all good. No hostility. I don't have anything against him, nor will I ever anything against him. So it's not who I am.
Right.
Not who I am. So, guys, like I said, we can talk. I had a bunch of notes, but we can talk about what's going on. I know it's Game 6 of the NBA Finals
Oh, there's
tonight.
my stupid pen.
You know it.
If if OKC wins, it's over. If Indiana wins, they it's a Game 7. So
I don't see a game seven
I know.
happening with one of Pacers' star players out.
Well, Halliburton's clear to play.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know how, but again, Lou, I don't know how good he's going to be. But
That's the thing.
Halliburton did say he was going to play, so that'll be one of those wait and see type situations on
Yeah, I
how
know. I know.
how he does with his. Because correct me if I'm wrong, it was a calf strain, right? Is that what it
Yes.
was? Okay,
Yes.
because they won't win without him. I'm sorry,
Uh-uh.
they just will
Uh-uh.
not win. They're not the same basketball team without him
No
being
way. No way.
because OKC is too good. I mean, they're just too good. They're too good of a basketball team
Even though despite
to
they lost that first game, but I kind of figured, okay, they lost the first game. Everybody was in shock and like, okay, the sky's falling. But if we knew how they've been playing all year, I didn't think it was going to last.
true. Well, but isn't I mean, didn't what's his name? Isn't he going to win? You're going to win most valuable player. Who am I thinking of?
Well,
Uh, Sag.
if if they win tonight, Thunder wins tonight, yes, Sag will get MVP.
Okay.
However,
Okay.
now keep this in mind that the MVP does not own. I mean, it could be Halliburton, but it's a long shot. But stranger things have happened, and it has happened in the NBA, I think, twice.
Okay. Okay.
I know everybody's
Well, I
gonna be
know.
thinking,
I know.
"What the hell?" They're gonna think, "What the
But
hell?" He wasn't on the winning team. He won.
it's
It does, you know.
what sometimes happens in the NHL where the a player on the other team will get the Conn Smythe. So it's happened. It
Right.
happens
See,
sometimes.
because it doesn't go to the best player who won the championship. It goes to the best player all around playoffs. That's what some people forget.
Correct.
Yeah, and everybody's like,
Correct.
how did this happen? I mean, even I knew that. I mean, come
Well,
on, what are you guys saying? But I mean, sheesh. I mean, I've been around a long time, guys. Don't let my looks fool you. I'm a lot older than I look. But to the naysayers out there, like, now how could this be possible? Look, schmuck. Uh, I know the game. I've been around long enough to know how awards work. Okay, so before you go thinking, oh, that's not right. He wasn't on the winning team. He didn't deserve it. Yeah, well, guess what? First of all, screw you. Number one, and number two, it doesn't just go to the best player of the finals. It's all around playoffs. Okay, case closed. Just like regular season work, it goes to the best player who made all the performance during the entire season, not just the team with the best record.
correct.
Duh.
Correct.
There's a little school
Yeah,
lesson
there
for
there are
y'all
some
kids.
there are some people out there that don't agree or believe in that, but that's the way it goes. So,
Yeah. Should I go in the
but
course if we just disagree? No, no.
yeah, yep. Agree to
I'll say it
disagree,
for the
right?
show.
The only
So
the
much
only player to have
leaving
ever
low, we can't see that. No, I did go to a course. Okay, but this should be. I don't know how what kind of a game we're gonna be looking at here. I don't know if it's gonna be like a close knit game throughout, or you know, with the Thunder just doing damage control early because of course Indiana the game was at home and they're gonna get the crowd's gonna get psyched up and everything. So I think I'm probably gonna think Indiana's gonna not necessarily win, but they're gonna keep enough life to stay in the game to make it competitive.
Right.
well, I think it's cliche for a reason, but so if
Yes.
you're if you're Indiana, you want to get those couple early shots to go. Get to keep the crowd in
Yes.
it. You know, the crowd's going to be lively. They're going to be there. They're going to want to be loud. They're going to want to be energetic in those first few minutes. But if those shots don't fall
Yes.
and Oklahoma gets out to a quick 8-2 lead, and then they can just wear down Indiana and keep
Yeah.
that 6-point lead into the second half. Come out, hit a couple quick shots in the third, be an easy way to to get the crowd out of it. If you're Oklahoma, you want to weather those
Right.
first 2 minutes. Weather those first two
Yes.
minutes. Don't give up a couple of big shots. Don't get down quick. Make sure that you're getting good looks, even if they don't fall. Make that extra pass to get a better look and fight the fight on your own terms.
Yeah.
I think that, Halliburton has to be a key contributor for Indiana if they want to force a game 7. Would
Yeah.
it be Saturday night back in OKC?
Sunday. Sunday.
Sunday? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess either way you look at it, the whoever wins, it'll be
Wow.
their first NBA championship in franchise history. So, you
Yeah.
know, there's always a
Technically,
positive
Not
with that.
necessarily.
Okay.
Not exactly. Well, okay. I know this is going to be a bit of a controversy, but remember, the OKC were not born in OKC. Remember, they are the ancestors of the Seattle SuperSonics who won a championship back in 1978. But a lot of people are saying, no, it won't
Okay.
count. But I count. Look, they moved. They are not a new team. They were not a new expansion team. They moved from Seattle because the owners thought, well, they're not getting enough lack of support despite having a good record. So we're going to go Southwest and rename ourselves the OKC Thunder. You're the same team. You just moved and rebranded yourself. Okay. But they're not an expansion team. So therefore, if they win, yes, it is their second title. Even though it's a make people think, oh, it's a technicality. Come on, people. And if Indiana wins, it will be their second title, and they'll be the first team to win both an NBA and the other title, the ABA.
ABA. Okay.
So we're not looking necessarily at. So we're not necessarily looking at a team who is winning its first title. Now, I know
It'll
it's
be
not like
Indiana's first NBA title.
Yeah. Okay. First NBA title, but second title overall.
Well,
depending how you look at it. For those of you born after 1980, I'll explain it to you later. Boy, I am old. Jeez.
Well, I guess what time? What time is the game start? It's getting ready to start here in the next few minutes.
Just after 8:30.
8:30.
Yeah. Okay, so we're about 20 minutes or so away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Minus the pregame stuff.
Yeah, of course. Honestly, I think that this is just a personal beef of mine, but with the 2.5 to 3 hours of pregame between ESPN and the network, we should be tipping off right at 8:30. There's absolutely no reason that we shouldn't be ready to go at 8:30.
I agree.
Yeah.
So it can be done by a decent hour.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I mean, even thinking back to the NFL draft, since it comes on at 8:30, it's not always, it's like 8:35 with all the network coverage they have from ESPN to NFL Network to all that pregame stuff should be done. So Goodell should be walking on the stage at like 8:29 with seconds left to get the draft started.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I feel like the draft, the team, they need to cut the team. They need to cut the draft. The teams don't need in the first round. In that first round, I think it should go to 3 minutes. I really don't think that you need. I think each round should get progressively. Each time on the clock should get progressively longer as we get deeper and deeper into the draft, where you need more time. Because
I want to say, I think
Go ahead.
I was going to say, but I think I saw something about that the commissioner wants to change it from 10 to 8 in the first round.
I think it should be like
8 minutes.
That'd be
5 minutes max.
Yeah.
I think once you get outside the first round, I think if they go to 3 minutes and then the second round can be 5 minutes, the second and third rounds 5 minutes, the fourth and fifth rounds being 8 minutes, and then the sixth and seventh can be 10 minutes. I just don't think I don't think teams need 10 minutes in the first round to make a pick. I think it's just a personal beef of mine with the NFL and how they do the draft, because I think most teams already have 2 or 3 guys in mind. That guy number 1 is off the board. I mean, if you're picking at 5 and you're wanting that wide receiver out of Texas, well, he went at 4. You're not scrambling to find some guy. You already have 2 or 3 guys in mind that you want to make or trade in mind. Let's say if that receiver comes up at 5, you're going to pull the trigger on him. Well, he's gone. So you have you have 2 or 3 fallback guys and a trade or 2 in the works that you've been thinking about. So you call up the GM of Pittsburgh and say, hey, let's put a trade together, or whatever,
Right.
Yeah.
And personally, I think the draft just takes the first round, and it's probably a lot of it has to do with the fact that we cover it in excruciating detail every year.
Marv is crazy.
this year notwithstanding, but that's all water under the bridge. There's no reason that 32 teams need 3 hours to make 32 picks.
Yeah.
Each team has 32 guys on their board. They're going, okay, if he's not there, he's gone. If you're drafting at 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, you have 3 or 4 guys that you're looking at going, well, if he's there, he's the one we're taking. If he's there, if he's not there, then we're getting this guy. And either one of those guys is there. This third guy is our number one, and he's the one we're taking. So, just for my insanity, I wish that they would shorten the length of time between picks.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I think that, like I said, I know they've been talking about making the time in the first round
You really do
shorter.
that make it shorter. I mean, because it's like first it's like, well, I don't know if it gets up to a slow start, gets to a quick start, but towards like about the midway through, that's when it starts to drag a bit, and where something's supposed to start like at like 11, it goes to like about almost midnight. I mean, the NBA doesn't even that much long. Well, they only get like about 48 players, of course. Hockey, they go like 7 rounds and that kind of stuff too. They need to speed up these drafts, a lot more because I think that's why fans lose interest and don't watch those drafts because it just drags on. I mean, I've seen a snail move faster than some of these draft telecasts. I mean, really, I have.
Outside of the top 10, once you get 1, 2, 3 are usually locked. You know who they're going to be. 5 through 6, 4 through 6 are interesting because they could go any of a myriad of ways. And then after that, it gets, if the draft picks were coming fast and furious, they were hot and heavy. And if we had 3 minutes and we were on to the next one, that would be really fun. Because then, we get into some discussions of like for example, this year, Colston Loveland at 11. A lot of people didn't like it. Thought that the kid out of Penn State should have gone. And it gets into that. And that's a really interesting discussion. But we don't need to be sitting here for 9 minutes discussing one pick.
Yeah.
Speaking of NFL draft picks,
Yes.
we'll talk about the transition. Beautiful transition on my part. Sheduer Sanders was busted earlier this week for 101 which is he even 21 yet?
No.
Sure, I don't think so.
No.
He's a 20-year-old kid with a sports car. If I've known plenty of 21-year-olds without sports cars that have done 101 in a 60. Let's hold off on throwing him out with the bathwater. He's a kid. He made a mistake. I mean, the only difference between him and half my buddies growing up, or half the kids I know now, is that
he's 23.
Okay, he's 23, so he's not that old. Okay. He's 23. He's got a sports car, and he'll get a reckless driving. He'll get a speeding ticket. He's got the money to pay both of those. He didn't hurt anybody. He didn't kill anybody. We don't have a Henry Ruggs situation on our hands. Was it dumb? Of course it's dumb. Driving 101 on a street is dumb. It's just dumb. And I'm not defending his actions because it was dumb and he deserves his pain. Justice will be served. He'll do his have to take a remedial driving course, or whatever his fine. He could have spent a night in jail. It really depends on how the cops were feeling at that time, whether they gave him a night in jail or They just gave him his tickets and sent him on his way. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think we all remember being 23, and if we had sports cars when we were 23, doing 101 doing 101 in them. I know plenty of kids here that have souped up, jacked up trucks. They take them down the back roads in the county doing 101 on hairpins. So, you know, before we cast aspersions on the young man, let's all take a step back and remember that at one point we were 23 and we would have loved to have a car that was capable of handling 101 miles an hour. And some of us had cars that weren't capable of handling 101 miles an hour and yet drove them that fast anyway. And some of us wrapped around trees or light poles.
Looks like he's been caught twice speeding. He got a ticket. He got a ticket back on June 5th for going 91 in a 65. And then the latest one was 101 in a 60 on June 17th. He failed to go to court for the first one. I'm just reading this off of what I'm reading here. So, yeah.
I'm not arguing.
It looks like it says this is not his first speeding related incident involving. Oh, that's never mind. They're just talking about other Browns players who have been. Yeah, it looks like he was pulled over an Ohio 82. Yeah, so it's been. Yeah. So it says he received 100. Oh, excuse me, guys. He received $100.50 fine plus additional court costs, raising the total to $249 on June 16th. Records indicate Sanders failed to appear at the arraignment involving his accident or incident. Sorry, let me read that. Accident, not accident, incident. My apologies. I read that incorrectly. But yeah. So I mean, again, yeah, I have to agree with Adam on this. Let's pump the brakes a little bit, guys. He's 23, just signed an NFL contract. I mean, like he said, he didn't. It wasn't a Henry Ruggs situation where he killed somebody. In fact, I think I read Ruggs was released from jail today. Did I read that correctly?
For what?
I had not heard that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I read that earlier today. But check and see if I'm right. I could be wrong.
I wonder what do you get out for? Time for good behavior?
He was doing 156 and had double. So, and that's the other thing that really puts a bug in my craw about Henry is that he was released. He got a temporary release today. Not sure why, and he's eligible for parole next year.
Okay.
Double the league. You know, that's speed and alcohol are just don't drink and drive, kids. For the love of God, just don't drink and drive. You know, speeding is one thing. 156 is insane. It's uncontrollable. You know, if you're not, I mean, granted, Henry Ruggs is a top tier athlete, and with a little bit of training, he could probably learn how to handle that. But the combination of speed and alcohol are what gets you. You know, I'm not defending what Sheduer did. I think it was reckless. Let me say that. But again, it's not the most reckless thing. You know, he wasn't charged with any kind of sexual misconduct. He wasn't charged with drugs, guns, money. It was
domestic violence.
Domestic violence, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a speeding violation. Was it excessive speed? You know, and we're not. It wasn't like he was doing 5 over. You know, it wasn't like he was doing 65 in a 60 or 75 in a 70. It was excessive speed. It was impressive excessive speed. But you know, and yes, the failure to appear is pretty. But then again, we also how many guys? I knew a guy who was on his ninth DUI, and they let him out to go to work. I worked with him briefly. He was on work release. I mean, it's still, he was a nobody. Nobody who didn't have connections to the county, he didn't have connections to the city, was some kind of state, and he was just another regular Joe who just had to work to be able to make things, to pay his fines, to pay his restitution. I believe he had child support at the time. So that was a long time. This was about a decade ago. I don't even remember his name now.
Yeah.
So, as much as I don't condone what Sheduer did, I really don't condone the missing court, but it's happened. It's really not that big of a deal. I've missed court. I ignored some tickets for several years. I called the county clerk office and I said, "Hey, can I pay those?" And they were like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, how much is it going to be?" One was $250 and one was like $240. They were like, "When can you have the money?" I was like, give me till next month. They were like, "Okay, make your payments and you'll be good." So I got those taken care of, and they fell off my record, and I've never had any issues. So the missing court, as long as he pays his fines and he doesn't get caught again. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. You got to learn how to not get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, true. Well, I mean, here's my thing with professional athletes. If you want to get drunk, you want to get high, or whatever it is you want to do,
Yeah.
you have enough money to hire a driver. If I had that kind of money, that way you stay out of being pulled over, out of speeding tickets, out of DUIs.
Yeah.
That would, I mean, again, I know everybody wants we all love the freedom of driving. We all do. Trust me. That's, so.
And I could think of two incidents that having a driver didn't help, Princess Diana and that Vladdy Kozlov or Konstantinov.
Right.
Konstantinov. I mean, Konstantinov, his driver, the guy he hired was drunk. After I think Konstantinov's driver was drunk. I can't. Let me look it up and let me be sure.
Okay. He's the one who was he paralyzed, but from the waist down? Is that what happened to him? Neck down. Okay.
Neck down. Sorry, I know it's been almost 30 years, but it still hurts to think about, man.
Well, I guess, but in a way, let me rephrase mine. Make sure you can trust your driver.
Yeah.
Better.
Sorry, I had to figure out how to spell it.
No problem.
Let me see if I can. Here we go. Okay, I'm just going to read from the wiki article for verbatim. So here we go. On June 13th, so it's just over June 13th, 1997. So 28 years ago, last week, or earlier this week, depending on how you want to look. Yeah, last week. Following a golf outing, the Stanley Cup champions. Following a golf outing with the Stanley Cup, celebrating the Red Wings championship, big triumph. Konstantinov, along with teammates Vyacheslav Fetisov, fucking Russian, and team masseuse Sergei Matsanov hired a limousine to drive them home. The driver, Richard Sedino, whose license was suspended at the time for drunk driving, lost control on the limousine and hit a tree in the median of Woodward Avenue in Birmingham, Michigan. As a result of the limousine crash, Konstantinov suffered from severe head injuries and paralysis, spending several weeks in a coma. Matsanov was also sustained significant head injuries and was paralyzed from the waist down. He died in August of 2024. He escaped with relatively minor injuries and was able to play the following season. Okay, so he wasn't. It doesn't say that he was drunk at the time of the crash, but his license had been suspended. His limousine license had. So again, that goes back to what you were saying. Your point about making sure. What are they doing my videos? No, that's a video. So
Yeah, I mean, we can all assume, Bud, that the reason that his license was suspended, maybe it was for drunk driving. We don't know.
No, it was. No,
It was okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so whatever. So according to the Wikipedia article, so I'm gonna take that for gospel if you will. No, I'm kidding.
The limousine driver's license was suspended for drunk driving. It doesn't say that he was drunk at the time of the crash, but it wouldn't surprise me. Hanging out with these guys at a golf outing, celebrating the Stanley Cup championship. He had a couple of 1 too many libations and got behind the wheel of something. So when you
I get you could also, but if you want to talk about drivers, I know it wasn't particularly the bus driver's fault, but you could think back to the Humboldt Broncos bus crash.
Right. Yeah,
that was a semi-truck driver, but still, nevertheless, even if you hire a driver, you're not safely gonna,
Yeah. I think the Humboldt bus driver was cleared of fault. So, if I remember right.
I thought he died. I thought he was one of the
I know some
people that died.
But that doesn't mean he was cleared of being at fault.
Oh, no fault. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't think because the truck driver is the one that slid through the stop sign and hit the bus. It was it was a semi truck driver ran the stop sign. Yeah, in the snow in Canada, I like in northern Canada. So yeah.
Okay, here we go. Again, reading from the Wikipedia article. Actually, I'm going to go to the main article on the bus crash. So, on April 6, 2018, 16 people were killed and 13 were injured when a northbound coach bus was struck a westbound semi-truck that blew through a stop sign near Armley, Saskatchewan, Canada. The driver of the truck failed to yield to a flashing stop sign at the intersection of Saskatchewan highways 35 and 335 while driving at speeds of approximately 62 miles an hour. Most of the deceased and injured were players from Humboldt Broncos, a junior hockey team from Humboldt, Saskatchewan, which plays in Saskatchewan Major Junior Hockey. And now so both the bus driver and the semi driver were killed. Well, yeah. It doesn't say. Sorry, hold on. So charges okay, so Sindhu did get sentenced to 8 years in prison, and being an Indian immigrant who appealed is slated to be deported at the end of his
sentence.
Okay. Yeah, and that, that happened in 2018, so it should be next year that he will be released. So yeah, the bus carried 29 people, including the driver. 14 died instantly, and 15 suffered injuries. 3 of them critically. 2 of the injured later died in the hospital. The bus driver. Yeah, you were right. The bus driver did die in the crash. So then let's look at the investigation from the
Because I know over the last 7 years the team has come back. I think they're back to full strength playing hockey in Saskatchewan and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it's just, I mean, like, you were talking, Bud, earlier about Henry Ruggs. When you're going, 156 miles an hour, you're asking for a crash. I'm just saying, you're asking to get in an accident because that's insane to be driving that fast. If you're not a professional driver, it's a different story when you're.
What are you asking me?
Even professional drivers.
Yeah.
If you're on a track or something, that's a different thing. But I mean, that's how I would look at it. If you can't handle a car going that fast, you shouldn't be driving that fast.
Or should be driving anyway.
True.
I agree 100%. And I think, I think that again, we talked about his slip in the draft, and we talked about how going back to Sheduer, and to put a bow on this, and we can move on to something else if y'all want. But we talked about his slip in the draft and the fact that he's arrogant. He thinks he's above everybody. He thinks he's better than everybody. And I think missing the court dates is what really does it for me in terms of his arrogance. Because I think I think that, you can have a car, you can drive it really fast, you can get pulled over speeding, you give them your license, registration, insurance, they give you a ticket, you go take care of it in court, and everybody moves on. For me, the real big thing is the missed court date. Or even if you're just gonna plead out, you're just gonna plead guilty, you don't even have to show up for court. You go on the state's website, you go to I think it's obviously it's in Ohio, so it should be the stateofohio.gov. And then you go in, you put your case number or your ticket number in, and you just pay the fine and you move on with life. You don't have to fight. Right. You don't have to go to court. You don't even have to appeal. You can just call the clerk's office and be like, hey, I want to plead guilty and take care of this. How can we do that? And they should be able to hook you up with, they'll waive the appearance and the appearance fees, and then you just pay then there's no court costs. You just pay the fine and you move on with life. It should be something like that. Because when I paid my tickets off, I didn't have to go down and appear. I didn't even have to. Even that they were like 5 years old. All I did was call the clerk's office, give my name, social, and my case numbers, my ticket numbers, and they were like, okay. They pulled them up and they gave me. It was like, you can pay. Whenever you get them paid, you get your license back. So that's exactly what I did. I paid them off and I got my license back.
Well, and on top of that, too, but I mean, think about him. I'm sure he has an agent or somebody that could have taken care of that for him. Probably wouldn't even have to go online. Just have his agent go, hey, go here, take care of this for me, or his secretary or something. Somebody, the agent secretary could have been taking care of that, too. So,
his reps should have been able to handle it, no problem.
Correct. I mean, he probably wouldn't even have to come anywhere, even, like you said, but not even court, but not even having to go online like we would have to do that, but not so much him, to make sure that he got his tickets taken care of. I mean, I would have said, yeah, okay, so I owe $150. Okay, tell my agent, have him take care of that for me, and then that way I don't have to appear in court.
Right?
I'm not going to appear anyway, so now I owe $250 for not showing up, and I know after a while, depending on the situation, they can file a warrant for your arrest. I don't think it's going to go that far, but
they can put out a bench
warrant.
Yeah. So a bench. So this is my understanding of how that all works. And I'm not a lawyer, and this is not legal advice. But if you fail to appear, a bench warrant is issued in your name. And then if you're picked up for anything else, so let's say you have a bench warrant out in your name, and they see you jaywalk, and they just decide to run you in on a jaywalk because it's just been one of them days, and they just feel like giving you the business, and they pick you up for jaywalk, and they find out you have that bench warrant. They're gonna hold you until you get that bench warrant cleared up.
Correct.
And it's really not. And again, like you said, he's got people. He's got people that can take care of that. He doesn't have to work.
Yeah, he's got people.
We were just talking about professional drivers. I was gonna kind of link it into you told me, buddy, that NASCAR was racing in Mexico, so we could kind of get into that. And did I see something stupid on Gerald's chat about Bubba Wallace? Okay.
It was about well, you know Gerald and how he is about things.
Yes.
Yeah.
He takes the internet and his least favorite people, and as best as I could find, it stemmed from back in Daytona when there was a there was controversy around the green white checkered rule, the
Okay.
overtime finish. So during the duels, they threw the caution with a tenth of a second left to race. Oh, they were getting ready to cross the start finish line, and as they were crossing the start finish line, the caution came out, and the win went to the other guy. I don't remember who was. I forget who was racing. It's been too long. I've stopped since then. And so, as best I could tell, that was all that was about. It was about the white flag, the checkered flag rule, the green white checker rule,
Okay.
because in the 500 there was a big wreck on the backstretch and they let them race it out. And the wreck and the backstretch they should have thrown. So the controversy is that they threw the flag immediately in the dual race with that much race. Like, I mean, when I'm talking, I mean, this is not a metaphor. This is literal. There was that much race left, and in the 500 they were heading into 3 when a big wreck happened on the backstretch, and they should have thrown the caution and stopped the race and made sure everyone was okay. So I'm pretty sure that was all that was about. And you know Gerald, so he's had a hate boner for Bubba Wallace since he got to the so.
Yeah, I saw that in the chat right before we got on here, and I'm like, that
Yeah.
can't be. That's got to be fake or computer generated, or there has to be some kind of meaning behind that. I mean, it is. I mean, I figured that's what it was, because if it wasn't fake, there'd be shit all over the internet about that. You know that there'd be articles out the wazoo. Everybody.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Everybody.
NASCAR.
I couldn't. All of them.
Yeah. I couldn't find anything about that. And in the other he made comments about the Confederate flag like 6 years ago now. So as best as I could, trying to run it down earlier, that's what I could find without doing a reverse image search and actually looking deeper. Basic surface level Google. First page of Google, and the only thing I found was an article from back in February after the 500, and I think it was that Monday. It was Monday, February 20 something or other, and so that's all that I have on that.
Okay.
If you want to call it a show, bro, you can get out of here.
You sure?
You look miserable.
Do I? I'm okay. I mean, I'm all right, but I'm okay. I mean, like I said, I do have a cold. I don't have a bad cold, but I do have a cold. So, but I'm okay. I had a majority of the day off
last week, man. That was awful.
The cool thing about today is I got to spend some time with my dad and my grandpa. So that was the benefit of being off. And yes, I finally got air conditioning in my car, which down here in Florida, this time of the year, it's like vital because it's so damn hot outside.
Yeah.
You don't know. I'm good, but I mean, if I don't feel good, I'll let you guys know. But I appreciate you saying. I mean, I know I'm sure I don't look that good in the face, but yeah.
Yeah. If you're still feeling up to it, we can power on. But if you,
I'm good.
You look wore out, brother. So
I'm good. I mean, I got to go to work tomorrow, and I'm going to a baseball game tomorrow if I feel up to it. If I get up tomorrow and I feel like shit, then I'm not gonna go. But as of right now, I'm good. If you want to talk, about Mexico,
Mexico,
That's cool.
We can get into Mexico. Well, I think I'm in the minority. I hate road course racing in NASCAR. NASCAR isn't built for road courses. I don't like road course racing in NASCAR. I want ovals. I like the two road courses, one in Sonoma, one in Watkins Glen. They were, they've been there since pretty much the beginning. I was happy with them. I felt like they challenged the drivers to do something new, do something different. And the thing that bothers me about road course racing is that SVG Shane Van Gisbergen, he comes to NASCAR and he dominates road course racing, but he sucks everywhere else. He's a liability out on the track everywhere else. And he gets one win in Chicago during the Chicago Street Course, and now he's the next best thing. He's the next best thing. And he's got one top five, and that's his win last week in Mexico. And the middle part of the race, like every race, was pretty good. There was some beating, some banging, there was passing, but after the last restart, because road course races are so damn short, they're 100 laps or 250 miles. You don't have a chance to go. Once you get into that third stage, there's no pitting. There's no chance for a shuffle. If there's any unless you got the track completely blocked, you're not getting a caution, so you're not bunching the field back up. And he won by almost 20 seconds, like it was 2000, like it was a Michigan race for 2003. Like it was Chicagoland from 2009, and in the last third of the race stopped. In the last 30 laps, once he got out front, you couldn't catch him. It's just because he was so much better than everybody because of how he drives road courses. He's just so much better than everybody at it. And our guys, when we take him to ovals, he sucks on ovals. Our guys kick his ass week in and week out. And I stand by the fact that road course racing and NASCAR and road course racing and street course racing, just they're not a fit. I know that Carson Hocevar said some disparaging things about Mexico City. I've never been to Mexico City. I don't know whether it's a nice place or a terrible place. I have no comment on that. Apparently, he's taking some sensitivity training and got fined $50,000. I really don't care. I really think it's silly that we're all so sensitive about everything anymore.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what he said. His comments have been scrubbed from the internet as of now when I went to go look for them the other day. So I don't know exactly what he said. I mean, people talk shit about every city in America. So I kind of feel like, the one city I've been to Charlotte. I think Charlotte's a gorgeous city. We went there together a couple years ago. And I thought Charlotte was one of the nicest big cities I've ever been in. And I've been to Chattanooga, I've been to Knoxville, I've been to Nashville, I've been to Fort Wayne, I've been outside. I don't think I went past Columbus when I was in Ohio. I've been to Memphis. Memphis is an absolute shithole. Memphis is scary. I've been to Detroit, and Detroit's scary once it gets dark.
Yeah.
Memphis is the most terrifying city I've ever been in is Jackson, Mississippi. I was on a bus ride. I had a 13-hour bus ride, and the worst city that I was in was Jackson. And in that trip, I went to Chicago. I was in Chicago. I had a layover in Chicago, and it was January in Chicago, and I felt more safe outside smoking a cigarette in Chicago than I did smoking a cigarette in Jackson. So, and we know Chicago's reputation. So,
yes.
Then this week we're in Pocono. Again, another track that I really don't care for. It's just, I like 1.5-mile D-shaped ovals, especially in the next gen car. I think Michigan put on one of the best races it's put on in 20 years 2 weeks ago now. I thought Michigan was absolutely thrilling from start to finish. Big wrecks, passing, fuel mileage, and a little bit of everything for a little bit of everyone. I thought Mexico was kind of boring in the last 30 laps. I mean that from stage two, and there was a 20 lap segment where Mexico was quite good, but the problem is that once you as the new gen cars with the aero package and the aerodynamics and the demand for aero and the aero demand, that once you get your car out in the wind, you can set sailing and just go. It really makes racing uncompelling.
Yeah.
And one other thing that I want to touch on that I saw, but two things. Mark Martin was on Kenny Wallace's podcast earlier this week, and he was talking about the playoffs. And I love Mark, one of my favorites. Good guy, veteran, legend of the sport, but he's just another old head at this point. Guys, I mean it with all sincerity, but we're not putting the genie back in the bottle. This was a trend. NASCAR, even before the playoffs were created, even before Matt Kenseth won his title with 1 win when Ryan Newman had 8, NASCAR was already talking about coming up with some kind of playoff format, some kind of way to divide the season into a regular season and a playoff format. We're not putting that genie back in the bottle. We're not going back to a season-long points system where every race tabulates points and then the winner is chosen based upon the entirety of the season. It's just not happening. I personally think that the playoff system that we have now is probably as good as we're gonna get it. I don't want to go back to the old system. I don't want to go back to I look at what F1 has going on, and the fact that we're 18 weeks into a 25 or 30 week schedule, and we're already. Oops, if I could spell it right. F1. So Russell won F1. Stafford was second. Can I look at the standings? There we go. That's what I want to look at.
Yeah.
And the fact that Norris is the only one in contention, in legitimate contention with one back one. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, with 14 races to go. Obviously Max hasn't been, eliminated. If he rips off a spring, he could get back in it, but that Piastri isn't gonna fall off the map and not point in the next 14 races. So it's at 198 points and 198 to 155. That's 3. That's 4. He's 40. He's almost 2 races behind. 2 full races behind. At this point, Norris is the only one that could legitimately catch him if Piastri stumped. So again, little math here. If Max gets max points, that's 26 times 14. Nobody said there'd be any math. That's 4. Carry the 1. That's 8, 9, 100. Oops. 9, 15. So the most that Max can get is 254. And
okay.
If Piastri finishes second, then we have 16, carry the 1, that's still 9. So, oh, wait. I did that wrong. Oh, why am I doing this on paper? Just use a calculator. Easy. 26 times
Yep,
14
3.
is 364. Okay. And then 24 times 14 is 336 plus 198.
534.
Okay, that's 5. Yep, 534. And then 364 plus 155 equals 501. So he can't. He need Piastri has to have a couple of bad finishes in there for him to even winning out. If he wins out and Piastri finishes second, if they go 1-2 the whole rest of the way, Piastri wins by 30 some odd points. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it would be the most amazing. He would need Piastri to finish fifth or worse at least 2 or 3 times for him to catch up.
Yes.
It would be incredibly compelling. It'd be fascinating to watch. But if Piastri podiums by 5 races to go, if Piastri has continued to podium to second to every one of Max's wins, it's over.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're really not talking about you're talking about a guy going out and winning. He'd win 16 races in a season, and yet not win a championship.
That would be weird.
It is weird.
For
That
him
would be
to even really get close, he would have to win 14 straight races. And
how many races are left in F1?
14. There's 14 races
14.
left.
Okay.
I just counted. That's where I was getting. That's what those numbers are based off. Is the max points, and I think second might actually get 18 points. Let me look again.
Do they work off a point system too, Bud, in NASCAR? Is that how they determine who makes?
It's
okay.
Yeah, it's 18 points. Okay. So let me rerun the number, rerack the numbers, and let's do 18 times 14. 255. Okay. So he would have but he would need to win out to get close. Because he would win by 50 points. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
And that would be he would have to win every single race from here on out, and Piastri would have to finish second or worse every single race from here on out for him to close that gap and take back over. And last week Piastri finished fourth, while Max finished second. So he made up 6 points on Piastri.
Yeah, but I'm assuming, Bud, the odds of Max pulling that off and Piastri finishing fourth or worse is very slim to none. Because I'm assuming the guy's having a good season. So unless a engine problem happens, I mean, could it happen? Absolutely. The odds of it happening are probably very, I would assume, slim to none. If I had to guess, yeah.
And so NASCAR points, you get points. All 36 spots get points unless you're not a point getting team.
Okay.
So like if you're a one-off entry, you wouldn't be awarded points. You would just be awarded your finish.
Right.
So like in Chicago, I think Chicago is the next one on July 4th weekend. Elio Castroneves is going to be driving the
Okay.
going to be racing again in NASCAR, and so he won't be eligible for points. So, and if he makes the race, then he'd be eligible for the finish and the money. If he doesn't make the race, then he would be granted a provisional, and he would have to forego the money and the finish. He could race, but he wouldn't be able to anything that none of his it wouldn't count towards any official stat.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so the first 26 races pay out the points, a cumulative points plus wins are worth 10 points and 1 championship point, and you get 10 additional points for every win. Now, and this year they introduced a fastest lap point. So if you win the race and you get the fastest lap, you get your total points plus 12. And that's all accumulated towards the regular season championship. And then everyone is seeded 1 through 16, and whoever has the most regular season championship points is from the regular season champion. And then he's given an extra points, and then they're given bonus points towards the next round, and those carry on through till the championship 4 round, and then the last race in Phoenix this year, they get all the points go. Everybody's reset to 0, and whoever finishes the highest in the running order is crowned that year's champion, regardless of who wins or doesn't. So, is it a perfect system? No. I'm not going to sit here and argue that it's a perfect system, but when you look at the other systems, you look at the fact that for years we had guys winning the title with 2 or 3 races to go, just making the last 2 races irrelevant, because who cares about 500 laps at Atlanta, when the title's not up for grabs.
Yeah.
When you got Jeff, this was, I would say, 98. Gordon didn't had everything locked up with 2 to go. So in Atlanta, they just threw the kitchen sink at it. Oh, let's try a whole bunch of different sets and get ready for 99. So, and if Piastri if he has it locked up with 2 weeks to go, that's exactly what McLaren's going to do. What McLaren, Red Bull, everybody, Mercedes, they're all just going to throw. They're not going to care about wins or losses. They're just going to empty the war chest and see what they've got for next year.
Mm-hmm.
Things that they want to try, things that they want to see if it'll work. I might try some different strategies just to see to build a book for next year.
Where does Lewis Hamilton fall in the points in F1?
Lewis is. Let me look.
I think he's fine.
Because
he's out of the picture.
Because he
He's
changed. He went from Mercedes to McLaren, right?
Correct. He's 6th with 79 points. So he's pretty well.
Okay.
He's pretty well out of it.
Okay.
I mean, you're looking at So the top 5 are Oscar Piastri with 198, Lando Norris with 176, Max Verstappen with 155, George Russell, last week's winner, with 136. Charles Leclerc is 5th with 104. 6th is Lewis Hamilton with 79. A.K. Antonelli, who's driving the other Mercedes this year, is 7th with 63. 8th is Albon, 42. Ocon is 9th with 42, driving the Haas. And 10th is Hadar, driving the RB, which I'm not sure which that is, with 21.
But did they get points for leading laps too in NASCAR and F1, or is it okay?
So usually in NASCAR you got a point for leading a lap, and then you got 5 points. You got 5 points for leading a lap and 5 points for leading the most laps. So you could collect 10 bonus points. Then they did away with that, and they did away with that in, I want to say like 04 or 05, somewhere in there, when they introduced the chase. And so then it was sometime in the 2010s where they did away with the points for leading a lap and leading the most laps. And then now this year they brought in the fastest lap award, which is an extra point towards the regular season championship.
Okay.
Or toward, and not just the championship, but towards the playoffs. And all of those points will accumulate going into Martinsville, which is the last race before the playoffs. So if you have 5 wins, that's 50 bonus points. With 5 fastest laps, that's another 5. So you got 55 bonus points towards your effort towards the championship that you carry into each subsequent round of the championship up to the last race in Phoenix this year.
Okay.
And if that was clear as mud, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I know, I like I said, I do happen to watch a NASCAR. He plays the old NASCAR games.
Okay.
And I know at the end of each race, which I know I'm sure that there are some tracks that they don't even race it anymore, because again, that's like 2004. This is 20 some odd years ago, and tracks have gone away or they've added new ones. I mean, obviously the main ones are Daytona, Talladega, Bristol, and they all race. They all race. Where's the triangle? What race is
that's Pocono?
Is that Pocono? Okay,
that's Pocono. This weekend.
That's the one that's coming up this weekend. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Bristol's the fastest half mile, right? Is that what?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last great Coliseum.
But is it just Daytona and Talladega that are restrictor plate races, or they have other tracks?
Atlanta. They put plate on in Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay.
They in 2021 when they redid the banking in Atlanta, so I don't know if you remember in the Hall of Fame the different bankings that I walked up.
So yeah.
They created Atlanta is banked at like I think it's 27 degrees now, where it used to be like 22 degrees. I forget the exact dimensions. It's been too long since I've looked. But they changed the banking in Atlanta, and so instead of it being more flat, it's more banked. Figure they make the banking higher, it's more banked, which allows you to carry more speed into the corners and reduces the amount of deceleration you need to do to get through the corner. So it creates a pack effect. And so
gotcha.
So going back in '87, Bobby Allison blew a tire off of 4 and slammed into the grandstands. And if you don't remember, if you've never seen it, it's one of the most harrowing wrecks in NASCAR history. You can go look it up. So that was in the Speed Wars. That's what you had the founding, you had the Aero Wars in the late '70s and early '80s, and then you had the Speed Wars from the mid '80s on to the late '80s. And at that time, Bill Elliott was driving a Ford Thunderbird doing 212 miles an hour. And
oh wow!
And when Bobby came off the corner, he was doing 203, 204, and when that tire blew, he went sideways like that and went up. So he was going like this. That tire blows. He goes like he cocks left, he cocks right, and it's a hydrofoil. Yeah. When you get a race car turned sideways, it's like a wing. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say. It's like a wing. So when the air gets underneath it, without that tire there to break up the airflow in that car, the air just gets up underneath the car, gets up underneath the fender well, and at 200 miles an hour, you get lift. So he gets lift and slams into the catch fence at 200 plus miles an hour. Thankfully, no one was killed. A couple people were hurt, but no one was killed. No one was injured. No one was serious. There might have been serious injuries, but no one was seriously injured enough where it was, no one was critically or fatally injured, and Bobby ended up walking away.
Yeah, I mean that would have been devastating.
And after
I'm actually watching it right now. Yeah, he flew right into the catch fence and did a full 180, 360 around. Yeah.
Yeah. He come back and sat back down on the track and spun around. Thankfully, he was okay. Thankfully, everybody in the stands was okay. And that was, if that was, I think it was Slap Shoes. He has a video called "The Wrecks That Changed NASCAR" that you can look it up. There's several. If it wasn't him, there's other ones. I'm sure other NASCAR YouTubers have put out similar videos, and the top 10 wrecks that changed NASCAR, the wrecks that changed NASCAR. And from that weekend on, they put the restrictor plates on the cars, and that created a new version of the Aero Wars, where cars got sleeker and slimmer, and that's why the cars are shaped the way that they are to this day, is because of the fact that you just can't push 335 pounds of steel 200 miles an hour with the restrictor plate on. You've got to find ways to break up the air better, more efficiently. And so from then on until 23 or 22, when they changed the motor package for Daytona and Talladega and Atlanta, they run a smaller motor at Atlanta, Daytona, and Talladega, so it doesn't require the restrictor plates anymore. It's like naturally restricted or whatever. Like the holes the intake holes are smaller with the fuel injection, because it used to be they were carbureted cars, so you had a carburetor and it would squirt fuel into the carburetor, which would create ignition, and then and then the pistons would go up and down and do their thing and create the explosion that made the car go vroom. And then when they went to fuel injection, they changed where the plate ended up going, and they made some modifications. And then a couple years ago, they changed the motor altogether. Now it doesn't require the plates anymore, so they're just drafting track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming that you said, Bud, that crashes that changed NASCAR. Obviously, Dale Sr.'s crash at Daytona obviously was one of them that changed NASCAR for, forever, I guess, in a way you could say that. I'm assuming the Davey Allison in accident too changed the way that the cars were designed and manufactured.
Davey died in a plane crash.
Did he really? Okay.
Davey and Alan both died in plane crashes.
Both? Wow.
Yep. Davey was a plane crash, and Allison was a helicopter crash.
Oh.
Yep. I think Davey both. I know Alan Kowicki was a helicopter crash, but Davey may have been a helicopter too. I don't remember. Davey. Davey's crash. Yeah, okay. They were both helicopter crashes.
Yeah.
Davey's crash changed the face of NASCAR. Davey was the next star. Davey was Bobby's son. He was part of the Alabama gang. And it didn't change the way NASCARs were raced or how they were driven. It changed the whole trajectory of NASCAR. It changed rivalries. Because you had established stars. You had aging veterans like Rusty Wallace and Dale Sr. You had established stars like Mark Martin and Sterling Marlin, and you had up and coming phenoms. Dale Earnhardt was an aging veteran, but he was still competitive. Darren Waltrip was on his way out. Everybody knew he was long in the tooth, but he could still compete. You had Rusty Wallace, who was an aging veteran, but was still very, like Dale, very, very competitive. You had Tony Labonte, who was an established star, a veteran, but not aging out. You got Mark Martin, who is a veteran of the garage area, but he was not old yet. You had Bobby Labonte, Dale Jarrett, some guys that had been around for a while that were coming into their own. And then you had young guys. You had Davey and Jeff Gordon. And Davey and Jeff were supposed to be the next. They were the new kids on the block, and they were supposed to battle each other for the next decade. And then you had Alan Kowicki, who was the one-man show. He did everything. Seven employees at the time. That team had 7 full-time employees at the time of his death. And when he died, when Davey and Alan died, it really threw everything into chaos because NASCAR had to fall back on their only star in Dale Earnhardt. And I mean, Dale Earnhardt was bigger than life. Dale Earnhardt was the last real American hero. I know NASCAR wants to say it was Junior Johnson, but it's not. It's Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt was the last American hero. He was. Dale Earnhardt was a nobody from nowhere, Kannapolis, North Carolina. He never had money. His dad was a part-time racer, full-time mechanic. He was a part-time mechanic, full-time racer. He got in bad equipment and made it work. Got a good ride. Won a title. Won Rookie of the Year. Won a title before he won Rookie of the Year. Won Rookie of the Year. Went and raced for a team that sucked. Bided his time. Got his opportunity. Won 7 Racing Cup championships and a Daytona, and then to top it all off, he gets the crown jewel, the feather in his cap. He won everything else, everything around Daytona. He dominated Talladega, dominated Daytona, dominated everywhere. Road race, he could race sports cars, he could do everything and everything with a machine that you asked him. And he wins the Daytona 500. Completes his goals, does his company with his son, his best friend, and an up-and-comer in Steve Park. He's battling with Sterling Marlin, his oldest friends, oldest rivals, Sterling Marlin, Rusty Wallace, Ken Schrader, the future of NASCAR in a moment, and it's gone.
Like that.
And in a way, everything changed because the way it was so much different than Davey or Allison or Davey or Allen. Their crashes, they were non-racing crashes. They didn't have anything to do with the sport or the safety of the sport. They didn't change NASCAR from an on-track perspective. They changed it from a personality fit perspective, from a one more Nicky. Words and junk that I'm trying to say here. Not just like Davey and Allen's death changed NASCAR's fandom, like who you rooted for, who you pulled for, and it took away. They were big voids to fill that have never been fulfilled, that have never been. Their absence from the sport has never been. You can't replace Davey Allison. You can't replace Alan Kowicki. And you just can't get those guys back. But Dale's death changed everything. And the fact that Dale died with that, and and like I'm not to transition, but I think it's a point that I like to make every time this comes up and about when we talk about the death of NASCAR, or we talk about death in NASCAR, or just tragedy in sports. The thing that makes and not every sport has had a tragedy, but when you have your star retire without a plan to replace them, when you look at the NBA and how long it took them to find a new star, to create a new brand. When MJ retired in 2003, when he finally hung it up with the Wizards, they didn't have a plan to promote the next generation of NBA stars. When Gretzky retired in '99 for the NHL didn't have a plan to create a new generation of stars. They weren't promoting young guys coming in 95, 96, 97 to create a new generation of stars because they didn't need a new generation. They had Gretzky. They had MJ. Hey, it took them a decade and a half to create for genuine stars because when Michael retires, when Gretzky retires, they left a void that their respective leagues didn't know how to fill with the guys they had. For the NBA, you had Kobe and AI, and that was kind of it. And they were both polarizing, and people, hindsight being 2020, and we all have perfect vision. We understand what they meant for their sports,
Yes.
But and for the NHL, the problem was that they got Crosby and Ovechkin, and they jammed them down our throats. They were calling Sid the next great one before he even was taking an NHL face-off. They were calling him. Ovi was this wunderkind from Russia who didn't speak really good English. He wasn't a likable, and I'm not taking anything away from Ovechkin or what he's done. He's not a bad guy. He's just not a good ambassador for the league. You can't put him on TV because he's too goofy because he's a Russian. He doesn't speak proper English. He speaks Russian English. He speaks with a heavy Russian accent. But guys like Datsuk and Zetterberg and Korea and Solani and all those guys, none of those guys gave the league a face to promote. And that's the thing. And the same thing with NASCAR. When Dale died, they didn't have a dozen other stars that they could just go, okay, yes, we know Dale's gone. And it's very sad. We're all very sad. But next Sunday, we're strapping them up and strapping them on, and we're going to go racing again. That's what Dale would want us to quit racing. When Neil died in '95 or '94 at Talladega, Dale raced the next day because that's what Neil would have wanted, and that's how we've always done it. It doesn't matter. When Fireball got in his bad rack in '69, everybody stepped in and strapped on and raced the next week. Carried on like nobody. Like it's just what you do. Because if you give in to the fear, if you take a week off, obviously 9/11 notwithstanding, because everybody kind of took a week off. But if you don't strap in and strap on that next week, every week it's harder to get back in the car because if you linger with that doubt, if you let fear cloud your vision. So we soldier on. We make the best of a bad situation. We go out and we race, and if somebody dies or gets hurt, well, it was just their time. We pick up, we move on, and we do it again, and we do it again, and we do it again. And every time somebody gets hurt or dies, we try to do better. We try to make the car safer, try to make them more reliable, more dependable, try to fix things that are questionable. So anyway, my overarching point is that the NFL has got it right. NFL has nailed this. I remember 4 or 5 years ago when Brady was getting on, I guess 10 years ago now, going back to the Manning years, because when Manning was getting old, when Eli was getting old, when Philip Rivers was getting old, when Ben Roethlisberger was getting old, but they weren't out of the league yet. And Tom Brady was 35, 36, and it was a matter of time before he was done. And this new kid, Patrick Mahomes, burst onto the scene, and everybody and the media wouldn't shut up about him.
Right.
The NFL media did a great job of promoting the new star, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, creating buzz around those guys to develop because if you look back at the history of the NFL, if you look back at you have generations of stars. You have in the '60s, you had Len Dawson, Joe Namath, Johnny Unitas. Even you can go back to the '50s with guys like Gale Sayers, and he might be even pushed into the '60s. In the '70s, you had guys like O.J. Simpson, murder notwithstanding. One murder. And Staubach and Bradshaw and Harris Mean Joe and Tall Jones. You had Lynn Swan. You had guys across the ball. In the 80s, you had guys like Ronnie Lott and Lawrence
Walter
Taylor,
Payton.
and Walter Payton, Jim McMahon, and personalities, larger than life personalities. You had, and that's the thing the NHL or the NBA is. The NFL has done so well is they don't just have. It's not just a center driven. As much as it's a quarterback driven league, we know guys from every position. You had in the 80s, you had Gerald Green, the great cornerback in Washington. You had John Riggins, the great running back in Washington. Obviously, you had all your quarterback stars. You had Montana and Elway and Marino and all of that. And as much as they were the face of the league, they weren't the only thing the league had going. In the 90s, you had Barry Sanders and Brett Favre and Emmett Smith and
Troy Aikman.
Yeah. But I'm just trying to talk. I'm thinking about other non-quarterback stars. My point being is that the other leagues fail to develop talent, develop all their talent to create. With the NHL, they just wanted to push Crosby and Ovi. With the NBA, they pushed Kobe and Iverson. With NASCAR, it was the Jimmy Johnson show. With the MLB, it was who the fuck knows?
Barry Bonds, depending on what era you're referring to.
Yeah. The steroids, in the late 90s, you had Sosa and McGuire and Clemens and
Bonds. Yeah.
Roberto, Rafael Palmeiro.
Yeah.
Mike Mussina. You had all these great guys, but then when the steroids break and the NBA needs to figure out what they're gonna do, they don't have a backup plan. Ooh, Pacers are
right.
early. And I think that's the thing about the NFL is that even if a guy gets in trouble, just move on to the next guy. Henry Ruggs for Antonio.
No.
Everybody complains about Goodell and how when I remember when Goodell came in 2007 and there was a rash of arrests. And a whole bunch of people got in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And people had been getting in trouble for decades. And the players got together, and I remember Carson Palmer being one of them. Carson Palmer, Peyton Manning, a couple other guys. And they said, you gotta crack down on these thugs and bums and the bad apples because they're making all of us look bad.
Right.
And so Goodell was like, okay. Started throwing the book at people. And I remember there was a loud vocal minority of the fan base that wanted the bad guys out of the league until it started affecting their team. And then it was too much. And so the NFL overcorrects. Way too hard, way too many suspensions, way too many fines. Just everybody and their brother is looking over their shoulder, worried about getting in trouble with the league. Then, so they taper it down. Okay, we're not going to give everybody huge fines for first offenses. We're not going to give everyone big suspensions for offenses. We'll play it by ear. We'll see what's gonna happen. We'll just take it case by case. And then the Ray Rice thing happens, and the NFL gives him a 2-game suspension. And then the video comes out, and everybody loses their minds over it, and it's a shitstorm. And the NFL has to make another pivot and suspend him indefinitely. And so then we're back on that train where everybody's getting suspended for everything. And then fast forward a few years later, and everything's calmed down, and people are willing to listen and it kind of goes back to that where nobody's getting suspended. You know, kind of the suspensions are here and there, and they're kind of there's some of them, but there's some guys get in trouble for some things, and some guys don't get in trouble for things, and everybody hates everybody for everything, and you can't do anything right.
True.
And there's no pleasing everyone.
Nope.
How could they have found out it was you writing all those letters to me? How did they find
But yeah, I think you're right. But as far as the NFL having stars like in every generation, if you can go back to the old NFL versus AFL days, and then when the two leagues merged together, you had stars on different teams. It wasn't just
Right.
a Michael or a Kobe or an Allen Iverson, and then it was LeBron and Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. And, I mean, really, I mean, who would you say it is now? Because LeBron is past his prime. So who's the star now? Giannis? Is it
Yeah.
Jokic?
I think
Is it
Halliburton.
SAG? I mean, Halliburton. Who is it now? I mean, who is the guy that is holding the torch now?
Giannis, Halliburton, I think, are the rising stars of the league.
Well, I think that's the problem is that well that's what the NBA and the NFL has done so well. Is you've got offensive and defensive stars throughout the league. They promote themselves so well. And it's another thing it's another thing that I talk about frequently is the fact that college players and the college football players are promoted just as well as college. And the NFL does a lot with college football to make the game compatible.
Yeah.
And the fact that ESPN, Fox, CBS, they all have now they all carry Friday night games. We're plugged into the high school football. And high school football isn't that much different than college football, which isn't that much different than pro football. Well, there are some minor things here. There's rules there that are a little bit different between each league, but it's not enough where the games are so indistinguishable from each other.
Right.
Where you can't see what the skeletal structure is there. 4 quarters, 4 downs, 6 points.
Right.
Baseball 3-3-4, or 3-3-9, 3-3-9, 3 strikes, 3 outs, 9 innings.
Yeah. Well, I see this, but I don't believe it.
What are you seeing? What are we not believing?
Pacers are up 42-33. Oh boy.
Yeah. So tell the 2 halves. You gotta come out and play strong in the second half.
Am I gonna eat my hat again? Oh boy.
Yeah, you're running out of hats. So keep that up.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I did say that. I mean, I didn't think the Pacers were gonna win this game. I thought they'd make it interesting, but so far, now it's ultimately okay. Maybe game 7 Sunday after all. Oh boy.
Well, there's a whole half of basketball left too. So not that I wouldn't want to see a game 7, but there's a whole half of basketball still left. If they were up in the closing minutes of the fourth quarter, different story.
Yeah.
But when you got a whole half of basketball, OKC can adjust now. Indiana has a little bit of the advantage because you are at home. So that home crowd is going to feed you.
Indiana's banged up though. I mean, they got players with injuries and stuff, and that kind of affect you as well, even though you're at home.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
It's a 10-point game with just under 5 minutes to go. And 10 points in basketball is 2.
Yeah.
With 4:40 to go in the second quarter. Ooh. Indiana just hit a big 3.
Yeah. Well, it's actually 5:07. Yeah, 5 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Yep.
Well, I hate to bring up a bad memory for Lou, but look at what Reggie Miller did, scoring what was it, 12 points in 16 seconds or something like that. I mean,
Actually,
it
it's
can
8 points in 12 seconds, I think, something like that. Ugh.
okay.
Disgusting.
That's
Disgusting.
what I mean. It can happen rather quickly. How quick it can turn around, you know.
Yes, unfortunately.
And the league today is more of a 3-point league, and you're only down by 10. If you get 4 missed baskets, you could take the lead with 4 threes, and you're up
Yeah.
by 2
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
So that's how quickly it can change.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just like Adam was talking about earlier, how the NFL has gone to the more pass league where the quarterback is the most important. In the NBA, it's the 3-pointer now. Because when I was
Mm-hmm.
watching basketball, it was, the Rick Smiths, the Patrick Ewings, the Shaquille O'Neals, guys like that, the centers. Those guys are non-existent today. I don't even know if how many teams even have a center anymore. They don't even know if they even play that position anymore. So
The big body center underneath the basket,
yeah,
really, it's gone the way
yeah,
of the dodo bird.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
unlike
exactly.
like now you have to be a shooter. You can't be just the big body guy underneath the basket anymore. You got to be able to move. You got to be able to come off picks and rolls. You got to be able to set screens. You got to be able to hit the occasional three.
Yes.
The big body center, the 7-foot center who can't move, with the 7-foot statue in the center at 2 foot under the basket, really doesn't exist anymore. The old school it's more of a power forward position where you're with you can run, you can shoot, you can pass. It's a more complete player than it was 15, 20 years ago. Even
Absolutely.
and just basketball. Well, shooting has changed. Shooting has changed in basketball. Analytics got involved and ruined all of sports.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
And number nerds. Nothing drives me crazier than watching there. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there was a scene in Young Sheldon where
Yes.
Sheldon and his dad's a high school football coach, and he asks his dad why they don't go for it on 4th down because of the point, because of the numbers say you're better off just going for it, and the numbers lie because numbers don't tell you who's on defense. Numbers don't tell you who's on offense. Numbers don't tell you what the 4th down situation is. And the numbers can't tell you what numbers can get you to a certain, and I think about when I think of numbers, and I think Moneyball. And Moneyball gets you only so far. Because Moneyball was a 2-year window from 2001 to 2003 when the A's when the A's had Moneyball dialed in, and they were able to penny pinch their way to a AL conference championship that they lost. And that's the thing that so many people, when they talk Moneyball and they talk about the movie, and and Billy Bean and his brilliance, he wasn't brilliant. He was a cheapskate because the ownership in Oakland was cheap.
Yep.
Yes.
Had he have been in Boston, had he have taken his talents to Boston, New York, LA, Toronto, Moneyball is just only as good as the players you can find. And analytics only gets you so far, only buys you so much talent.
Yes.
You know what's better than analytics? Talent.
Yep.
That's what should better most of all, talent. Forget this analytical nonsense. Even though I'm an analytical person, but well, you need both actually. You can't just win on one alone. You can't win on just talent alone either.
Analytics is great for situations.
Yes.
Analytics is great if you're trying to do it on a small budget.
Would you say you can't win on talent alone? What about the Dodgers that we see now? That's a roster full of talent. I mean, tell me one player in that starting nine that's
I'm
not
sure
talented.
there's analytics in there somewhere.
Well,
exactly.
I think that the Dodgers, the Dodgers is the culmination of Moneyball. It's both analytics and money.
Yep. They found a loophole and are using it for the time being. So, yeah. To be able to push money down the road and pay, and have all the talent that they have.
Maybe they didn't even make these. Let me look them up. The 2002 Oakland Athletics, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the team that won 20 games in a row?
Mm-hmm.
You mean Oakland?
Yeah. That was the 20 games in a row that they won in the American. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Moneyball was based on, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that record was later broken by the Cleveland Indians, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yes.
They didn't even make it out of the divisional round. They lost in the divisional round in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Go
to the Twins.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think that story, that whole idea gets blown way out of proportion. They won. They were the best team in the American League. I think maybe even the best team in the league in 2002. And they couldn't even get out of the divisional round. They lost to Minnesota. For as many games as Moneyball won, it couldn't win the important games.
Mm-hmm.
And
Joke City.
And when you're a poverty franchise with poverty owners, management's got to do the best they can to try and create winners. So I'll give Billy Bean his flowers, but I'm still shitting on Moneyball because Moneyball doesn't work. You know what works? Moneyball. Pay him.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a reason why the Yankees have won 28 titles. There's a reason why the Dodgers are perennial title favorites, at least for the last decade. Now that Javi's got his. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, buddy, I'm looking back at the 2002 playoff picture. Even if Oakland had got out of the DS, they're not getting past the Angels or the Yankees in round 2.
No,
so it's not going to happen anyway. because the Angels went on to win the World Series that year in 7 games,
Right.
which is
Great
giant.
series.
So I think even if the A's would have gotten out of the divisional playoffs, they wouldn't have beat the Angels or the Yankees. It was the Angels that won the other divisional round. But what I'm saying is, I don't think the A's. Yes, they had their talent showed in some cases, like you just said. And if you watch the Moneyball movie, what was one of the last things that Brad Pitt says, which was Billy Beane, I don't care how many games we win in a row. We need to win the last game. The game that's going to give us the championship. And still to this day, that hasn't happened in Oakland, and now they're in Sacramento now, but it hasn't happened with the A's since the A's won the World Series, in the 70s? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Didn't they win back-to-back in like 72 and 73?
72, 3, and 4.
Did they go 3 for 3? And when is Billy Beane up to these days?
But they also won 89.
I think he passed away.
No, he's still alive. He's 63.
Is he okay?
But they also won the Earthquake series.
Oh, the Giants, right? It was A's Giants, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I know from the year, and I don't really care, as Michael said.
Yeah, I can. They show that highlight all the time about odd things that happen in sports and how the live broadcast went completely dark, and then they come back and say, "Yeah, I think we're in the middle of an earthquake."
Yeah. Wow. Just when we thought we'd seen it all.
Mm-hmm.
And he is senior advisor to owner Jeff Fisher. John Fisher, sorry. John Fisher, not Jeff Fisher.
Yeah.
He's still in the Oakland. He was manager from 97 till 2015. And then he was promoted. And then he was promoted to like senior advisor and then executive vice president. Now he's senior advisor to Jeff Fisher. John Fisher. Jesus. Definitely not Jeff Fisher.
Well, he was the guy too that everyone thought he was the next big thing as a player, and he never came around to be.
Yeah,
never with the Mets.
At least according to the movie. I mean,
yeah.
The best press is the press you write.
Right.
So, no, I'm not like a Billy Beane hater or anything. I just think Moneyball is, just people hang their hats on the analytics, and I look at the champions and I go, they paid their players, they paid their players, they paid their players. I mean, it's very rare. It's very rare that you have a team of flat dicks come together and win a title. I mean, not to say that you don't have super teams that come together and don't win a title. Looking at you, 2002 Colorado Avalanche, 2003 Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, you have a core 4, core 5, core 6 guys who are the lifeblood of the team. You have a couple of flat dicks who just keep everybody light and on their toes. And then you have grinders. You have a dozen guys that just go to work every day. And that, if it wasn't baseball, it'd be insurance, man.
Mm-hmm.
They hit 260 with 15 home runs and 60 driven in, but 55 of them were when they were down by 2, and the 6 through 9 guys, the guys that you just, that 9th hole hitter might be a slapdick who, if it wasn't for playing baseball, he'd be strung out in some car park somewhere. But he plays baseball, so he's got that going for him.
Mm-hmm.
8, 7, and 8 are just happy to be there.
Yes.
6 thinks one more offseason, he'll be 4. 5 is an aging veteran who's been around for 10, 15 years, and he knows he's on his way out. 4 is the star. 3 is the setup guy, so he's the other star. 2 is the 2-hole is a guy, he's not the fastest, he's not the strongest, he's not the smartest, but he works hard. And 1 is the most disciplined guy on the team. He takes walks, he gets on base, he sets up 2, 3, 4, and then you have your pitching staff. 5 guys will go out there, 3 to 5 guys who go out there every night, get you 6 to 7 innings, turn it over to the bullpen, and hope you have a halfway decent bullpen. And you have 3 guys that you're gonna pay and pay well. 1 guy that's probably gonna get paid somewhere else next year, and 1 guy who's just happy to be there. 1 guy who's dreading the September calls because he knows the playing time's getting through. And then you've got a half a dozen arms in the bullpen. Go ahead.
I think you could say that a lot about the I forget what year. The 04 Rays, the whole 9 versus 9 equals 8 thing with Joe Madden.
Yes.
That was what that whole, equation that he accommodated when they were, when they made their playoff run, their World Series run when they played the Phillies in the World Series.
Yeah,
that was the 08 season, the 08 Rays. But and if you guys have not heard, they are in the process of selling the Rays. Stu Sternberg is going to sell the team to a what do they call those, real estate guy that is based in Jacksonville. He's got a group of investors, and they're thinking, oh, they're going to move the team to Jacksonville. No, they're not moving the team to Jacksonville.
No,
just the guy. They want someone who lives locally, where Sternberg lives in New York. He doesn't live in Florida, so he's not around the team. So they want to get, and I have a funny feeling, and I could be totally wrong when I say this, but if the deal goes through and they do sell the team, the mayor of St. Pete and the city council, who approved the money originally for the Rays, may come back and say, okay, what do you guys need to get Tropicana done to keep the team here? Or they might go and say, well, how about we build a stadium in Tampa and let Hillsborough County I would do something like this, and I know this will probably never happen, but have it where each city council, both Hillsborough and Pinellas, is where Hillsborough County, if you guys don't know from Florida, Hillsborough is where Tampa is, St. Pete is where Pinellas County is. They're not in the same county. But if they can come together and fund the stadium together, then keep the team locally, because, yes, there have been talks about Orlando. The only problem with Orlando is they only have half of the money that they need to build a stadium. So unless they come up with another $1.5 billion, it's not going to happen in Orlando. So if they keep the team here, they keep the team here. I mean, that's what I think all Rays fans want. They don't want the team to move out of state, because Charlotte's knocking on the door. Nashville's knocking on the door. I mean, there are many, many cities that are knocking on the door for a baseball team. So,
how much over $1.18 do you think they want for them?
Good question. That's a good
couple pennies.
I think the asking price, was $2 to $2.5 billion. I think was what I heard.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
From Sternberg. Which the funny thing is, he bought the team for under $1 million, and he's going to get 4 times of what he invested in the team. Because I think
4 times, like 12 times.
12 times
or 1,200 times.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous amount. Because if he bought it for less than $1 million,
I think the franchise is only worth $4 billion, according to what I read earlier.
So that would be so 400%. Well, so that's a 400% return on initial investment.
Investment, correct.
And then
I think
and he's asking for 2.2, 2.5. So that's
something like that.
four times the no, because 4 times that would be
40 times.
16.
It'd be 40
Yeah,
times
40
what
times.
he paid for.
Yeah,
Yeah, 40 times what he paid for
40 times the value, because
value.
he
You have the
paid,
team, right?
yeah, 40 times the current estimated value, which is estimated at what, 400 million, which is 400% more than what. So you're looking at what, an 8,000% return on investment. Holy
Correct.
Jesus!
Yep, correct. Yep.
If that's how those numbers work out, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yep. They, like I said, I think it's $2 billion he's asking for the franchise.
No, he'll
So,
get it.
and as far as I know, the investment group had 1.7 billion already. They're looking for that extra $3 million to get them
300
million to get them over the top.
Yeah.
To get to that 2 billion mark.
Yes.
So that's what they were. But I know the Lakers just sold for 10 billion. So just throw that out there.
I can't
So
put that into words. I'm just like, what?
yeah, 10
Seems like
billion
they're
dollars.
undervalued. It seems like they got them at a good price, because I would think that they would be valued right at around 10 billion, maybe even a little bit more. Because
I think the Yankees are like 24 billion. And the
something like
Cowboys
that,
are
yeah.
up.
Something like that.
The Cowboys are up there too, as
Yes.
far as their value of what the value of the franchise. Now, I heard on the radio this morning when I was going to get my car fixed that why in the world, if you're Jerry Jones, would you sell the Cowboys?
No.
What are you getting out of it? You already have a bunch of money. What in the hell are you going to get out of it? I mean, he's one of those owners who is out in front of the camera all the time. So I think for us guys that do podcasting and writing, it'd be a shame if Jerry ever sold the team. in my opinion.
Yeah, sure.
In my opinion. So, I mean,
Well,
I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I'm just saying that, yeah,
right.
it'd be kind of weird not to have Jerry around,
Depends on who he sells them to. He sells them to a group involving Vontaze Burfict, Antonio Pierce, and Antonio Brown.
That's true. You never know who the next ownership group will be. Yeah.
I don't see Jerry. I don't see. I see Jerry. I see the Cowboys as an investment in the future for his children. I think that I don't see Jerry selling the team outside of if because his son Jerry Jr. or whatever his stupid name is, I can run the ground. Pops, I can run the team into the ground with no handlebars. Anything you can do, I can do worse. He's not. He's only in his. I don't know why. It's gonna drive me crazy. I mean, what?
Yeah,
Jesus
sure.
Christ, streets were $20 billion.
Yeah, there was a list, buddy, I saw not too long ago.
Yeah,
they were listed all the professional sports franchises and what they were worth today.
Yeah, the Cowboys are
market.
They're valued at just over $10 billion.
Over 10 billion. Okay.
Right.
I wanted to see what his stupid kid's name was. I guess I just have to click on the Cowboys because I'm pretty sure he's the president. Okay,
and also a client.
Yeah, he bought the team in '89 for $140 million, which is the equivalent of $300 million today.
Yeah. Adjusted to inflation.
Yep. Okay. Let's do it this way. Is that? Yeah, Jerry Jones Jr. Yeah, that's his son. And his son is 56. Yeah, he's the same age as my dad. He's 56. So I don't. Yeah. Jerry Jones Jr. is the vice president of the Cowboys right now, and when the old
Yes.
man
Okay.
passes on, all the Jones family. Stephen Jones is the co-owner and executive vice president. Jerry Jones Jr. is the vice president, the chief of sales and marketing, and executive vice president. And his daughter, Charlotte Jones Anderson, is also involved. She's 50. She's 58. Her brother is 56, and their other brother is their other brother is 60.
You mean it's
He
58?
just turned 60. So the Cowboys are not leaving the Jones family in time.
Anytime soon.
Yeah, and I don't know if Stephen Jones has any children of his own, but if he does, they would be in their early 40s.
Yeah.
At the oldest, they would be in their early 40s. Because if you figure he was born in 64, if he waits until he's 20 to have kids, that'd be 84. 84 is 42. So once, and then of course, if the other kids know that he's actually not he's the second oldest. Nope, he's actually the oldest. I'm sorry, I looked at that wrong. He's the oldest. Then his
Okay.
sister is 2 years younger than him, and his brother is 5 years younger than him. And so his brother hasn't turned 50. He'll turn 55 this year. He'll turn 55 this year.
All right.
Do you guys
So-
want to call it go ahead?
Yeah. We'll wrap up
I
there.
was just gonna wrap up with I was just gonna say that much to Gerald's chagrin and the rest of Cowboys Nation, the Jones family is not going to be getting rid of the team anytime soon.
Anytime.
No.
Because I think I know Jerry's a bit, Jerry's an elder statesman. But he is 82. He's 82 years old. So 82 is, he's elderly, but if he's been keeping up with his diet and his meds and he's taking relatively good care of himself, he could be around for another 20 years.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Theoretically, he could drop dead tomorrow and nobody would be like, he's an 82-year-old man. Of course, that would stink for, Cowboys Nation. Nobody would be happy to see him die. Okay.
No.
But theoretically, he could be around for another 15 or 20 years. Would he be able to run the team for 15 or 20 more years? Maybe, maybe not. But we're, thinking about, if he's got money, he's got access to the best medicine. He doesn't have to worry about paying for it. He can just throw money at the problem. So if he needs a liver transplant, or if he needs a new, penis skin injection or whatever, they can hook him up. So,
True. Very true.
so unless he comes down with something terminal, Jerry could be around for many more years to torment Cowboys fans.
Yes.
And give us something to talk about.
Correct. All right, guys. Go ahead, Lou. Talk about your show before we get off, bud.
All right, we got a big show planned on the Enhanced Sports Show Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. We got a lot of recapping to do. We're going to recap the NHL finals along with the UFO finals. The U.S. Open, which concludes Sunday, so that was a doozy of finish there. I thought it was going to be NBA finals, but look, we're going to do a Game 7, so we'll take predictions on that for what looks to be Sunday's final, unless the Thunder pull up a miracle comeback. Maybe not. College World Series begins on Saturday as well. And last night's game, I'm sorry I missed it. Oh boy. We also got some WNBA. NFL moves are coming up since training camp is only a few weeks away. Sports trivia this week in this day in sports history. Your thoughts and comments. The ridiculous time of the week, and a light story, of course. NBA channel. So we're gonna be covering all aspects this week on the Enhanced Sports Show. Remember, it's 512-543-4662, Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. It's Eastern time. And don't forget, we're on Facebook Live, so just keep that in mind, of course. And don't forget to like and share the Facebook page as well. So on that note, good night.
Cool. All right. So I want to thank these guys. The OG crew was here tonight. I will be back, guys, next week, and I won't be all stuffed up and I won't look like I'm dying. But
You should have seen me a week
anyway,
ago.
so I'll be back next week, guys. Before we go, I want to thank the men and women of our armed services. Thank you so much. Let's pray that we don't end up going to the Middle East here in the next couple weeks. That's turmoil, but that's political stuff. And thanked our first responders as well. I just got done texting Nicole, who she's the LPGA golfer. She just played her first golf tournament. So I'm going to have her come on after she gets done with it and kind of take us through the whole experience.
Is that going on as we speak? Is that now or?
Yeah, the KPMG. Yeah, that's going on as we speak. So
where is it? Where can I find it?
If you do you follow her on Facebook, Lou? Because that's where I saw it.
I tried to get on Facebook, but who's covering it though?
I'm sure. I think NBC. I think we are.
No. What network is covering it? TNT, TBS. Who's covering it?
I think it might be either the Golf Channel or NBC. Could be. I'm not sure. It's Women's U.S. Open.
All right. I'll be sure to check it out.
Yeah.
Go, Nikki.
We'll be back.
Here we go.
Back. Yeah.
Okay.
Who is?
Yeah, it's started this afternoon.
Golf Channel.
I'm looking to see if I can figure out. It's at Cornbridge. Okay, maybe not. I'm not sure. I don't understand. Powered by Kiddo. It doesn't say what watch. Look, yeah, it's on. Yeah, it's on. It looks like it's on the Golf Channel.
Okay, that's NBC territory. Okay.
So yeah, we could be interviewing her. What's her last name?
What's her last name? I don't remember offhand.
See real quick. I think it's Fleece, FELCE.
Yes, I think so.
Search players. There she is. Come on. So she shot a 7 over 44 on the day for the on the. She had 11 greens in regulation, 35 putts. Short games on. And she said, I can't round one. I can't tell. So yeah, she said a 7 over 44 on the front and a 7 and a 10 over 82.
Really?
On the okay, so she said a 10 over
overall.
82 on the day. Yeah.
10 over? Yeah.
Overall. Yeah.
Yikes. It'll be on CBS. Okay.
CBS. Okay.
No. It's the Trappers. I'll find. I think it's on NBC. I'll look it up.
Well, like I said, guys, we'll be back.
She is tied for 150th right now.
I'm
150. It's 150 spots ahead of me.
Well, I was gonna say I wonder what the cut line will be tomorrow, because we'll get the cut line tomorrow to see who gets in over the weekend. So
probably. I guess you think
if she can shoot
3, maybe.
If she can shoot, I don't know, 500-600 under par and get back to +4. There's an outside shot. She gets in.
Yeah.
Right.
You think the cut line be like, what, 56?
Maybe. Something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, to get to 56, she'd have to shoot a 7 under. Hey,
it's doable. It's doable. Yeah, it's doable. So yeah, everybody's pulling for you, Nicole. out there, we're all pulling for you.
She what?
Yeah.
Okay. I know you're trying to get out of here and everything. I wish you'd have brought this up earlier. We could have talked about it. Right. She needs to clean up 7. 7 was her worst hole. She shot a double bogey on 7.
Okay.
She was +3 through 6. And then she shot a double bogey on 7. She shot 8 on a 4. And then she had three bogeys the rest of the round. So if she can clean up 7 and get that squared away, I mean, she just needs to find a shot here, there, and everywhere. Because she had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 pars on the day.
Yeah, if she can shoot a 5 or 6 under round, so if she shoots 66, 65 tomorrow, she has a good chance of making the cut.
And that depends. And that's the other thing. The thing about it is that too, and I know obviously the last thing I say, but the thing about it is that she had a bad round today. That's not to say that the people in front of her won't have
a bad round tomorrow,
10 round and come back to her. She doesn't necessarily have to get up to them. Just if the pack comes back to her a little bit. So we're rooting for you, Nicole. Good luck. Keep your head up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, we'll be back, guys, next week at the normal time. Until then, I am the sports nerd Bradley Walker. We are sponsored by biotropiclabs.com, part of NGSE Sports. Until then, guys, peace.
Good night and good luck.
Good night and good. Cut, print, send it.